down from his shift at Los Angeles airport was banging his chest like Godzilla, shouting, I have the power. This is the mentality that we're dealing with, and it's been systematically done, and therefore the relationship, the dynamic between law enforcement and police and government and police has now dramatically changed, and they want to push us down this road even to more extreme levels because they want their New World Order enforced by thuggery, and we're seeing it now, and it's not in the future, it's sometime never over the rainbow, we're living it.
Well, Hitler, with his brown shirts, hired all the criminals. Stalin unleashed them all out of the prisons and made them commanders.
It's exactly the same principle. You know, what you see is a blueprint. I see blueprints everywhere. And, of course, if you get something that works, well, why change it? So, therefore, it becomes a blueprint. Therefore, you can see it through the generations and in different historical situations. It's absolutely the same. It's absolutely the same as what happened in Nazi Germany and Stalinist Russia and the Soviet Union that followed. That's exactly the blueprint, the Chinese blueprint. It happens there in a very
incredible
way, obviously.
If I was a film director and I was doing central casting for a dystopic nightmare future for a checkpoint, I'll finish the story when we come back. David Icke will get into Iran straight ahead. All right, we're doing a few more minutes with David Icke, author, researcher, former head of the UK Green Party. We got into some pretty wild issues, but the globalists are doing crazy things, so who knows? But we were talking about how, on record now, they psychologically profile police to be narcissistic people that want to dominate, and then they also then profile for psychopaths to put them, what they call them, high-functioning psychopaths, in the command positions. Now, they haven't completed this conversion yet, but they're starting to get close. And Hitler, of course, hired a bunch of thugs, the brown shirts. We talked about what happened with Stalin opening up the prisons and putting aggravated felons and rapists and murderers in command positions. This is what tyrants do, and you were mentioning that it's a blueprint, and it is. They hired the former head of the Stasi, Marcus Wolf, to set up Homeland Security. That's on record. You can't make this stuff up, but if I was doing central casting, David, for a dystopic future America under a police state, I would in casting, I would hire thuggish-looking, crazy-eyed-looking, mean people who would have, slit, their eyebrows down, looking through slits, hatefully, when families drive up to a checkpoint. It's not enough to have them in black uniforms strutting around like third world countries. They've got to be looking at you with hate. And, man, you pull up to these warrantless checkpoints now. I've actually pulled up to them, but they've got them all over the country. And they'll tell you, get out of that car, get over there. I mean, and you watch them. And I've been in New York and seen the Hercules teams, guys in black uniforms with their guns. They just get off and everybody looking at them. They'll sit there for 10 hours just getting off and everyone's scared of me. I'm powerful. It looks clownish to those of us that are real men and realize just what a pile of weak cowardice they are. You can see the weakness right there in front of you. A real man wants to defend humanity and is strong. They don't want to stand around and bug their eyes out and cops ordering people around. And I've been in New York a few months ago, and there was a parade out there when I went for a walk, and they were just barking at people and looking at everyone. I mean, if I made a dystopic movie, David, it could not, if the police acted this thuggish and hateful towards the public, and it's not like this in all cities, you wouldn't believe the movie because it would be too over the top. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have reached the level of almost it being farcical. It's a B movie we're living through, and these people are emotional cripples. People who are deeply, deeply insecure have to externalize their sense of success. So, people who have security or are secure within themselves, they're happy just to live their lives. They don't need people constantly confirming how powerful they are or how important they are or successful they are. And so the insecure people, they're the ones that drive down the street at 5 miles an hour in the Bentley so everyone can see them and all that stuff, because they need externalized confirmation that they're okay people. This is why people want more and more money. Oh, we've got a bigger house, and oh yeah, they're externalizing their insecurity, and you get the same process with these emotional cripples in uniform. They're externalizing their sense of self, because by frightening people and intimidating people and watching the people being intimidated, they get their sense of power, their sense of how big they are, because they're just pathetic. I mean, they are little boys in short trousers. That's what I see. The playground bully. You know, I had a childhood experience with a playground bully, which actually taught me a lot about the rest of my life, actually. I remember it. You know, and what happened, short story or long story short, is the playground bully turned out to be a coward, and that's what these people are behind all this stuff. And when you challenge them in the most pleasant way, the taser comes out, or this comes out, the aggression comes, because they cannot stand their apparently massive, but actually very, very fragile ego being challenged. And this is the mentality. And because I travel so much, it's everywhere. They did the same to protesters in Melbourne and Sydney while I was in Australia in very recent days. The same mentality is being employed all over the world, because it's a global blueprint.
It is. I mean, that's the proof. Now they admit there's global standardization, and global in Australia to the UK to Canada, the US, they take blood for now 40 years, secretly. Standardization of the electronics. This is global. This is global blueprint.
Yeah, and it's very simple, the way they've done it. I explain this in my talks and my books. What they've created, Alex, is the global version of a transnational corporation. The headquarters at operational level is in Europe, in places like Belgium, City of London, Rome, Germany, France, and to an extent America, but not as much as you think. You know, what they've done with America is they've set America up as the fall guy, so America fires the bullets, but they're overwhelmingly loaded in Europe.
Yeah, we've always been the big enemy because we went against them for a short period. We're set up to take all the blame, pay for everything, and then be destroyed.
Exactly that. That's exactly the story. If you look at McDonald's, they have a headquarters in Europe, and then they have subsidiaries all around the world. And the subsidiary has to impose the corporate global blueprint of the headquarters. The
corporate vision, the corporate message, the corporate handbook.
Yeah. So you go into McDonald's in Moscow or Johannesburg or Sydney or London, and you go into the same McDonald's. Now, what these people, this cabal has set up is exactly the same, but it's a secret societies and bloodline families. So you've got the headquarters in Europe, what I call the spider, and it dictates the global agenda and the timeline for its unfolding. Then, in each country, you've got a network of bloodline families under different names and the secret society network, which manipulates them and their agents and gophers into power. And their job is to impose in their sphere of influence, their country, the centrally dictated blueprint agenda. And therefore, the same things are coming in, like smart meters and all this stuff, all over the world at the same time. And then there's another level in which the subsidiary network in the country has subsidiary networks within the country that control the cities and the towns and the regions. And so it's this kind of holographic blueprint where every part of the network is a smaller version of the whole, that they can orchestrate this global agenda through. And it's been in place now for a long time. And this is where it's working. And this is why you'll find the same narcissistic, psychopathic personality being employed in law enforcement all over the world, because it's centrally dictated through this network.
Well, they're administering the same psychological test, and all of that's compartmentalized. They say the test score means one thing, but decoded, if you look at the test, I've seen articles, it's really, okay, we've got a sociopath, we got a psychopath, we've got, well, is he a high-functioning psychopath? Put him in a low level, watch him, see if we can move him up. Right. Because they don't want an out-of-control one. And then they mainly just want dumb kind of, we're the good guys, do what I say or I taser you. Did you see, boss? Did you see? That's kind of like the general group they want on the bottom. And heaven help these people.